Welcome to another episode of Reasonably Hyped right here. I'm your host, Carlos Macias, along with my co-host, as per usual, Deo Blas. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thanks for having me, Carlos. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. On this episode, so we're doing, there is a review. We got some review codes for our Chernobylite. Well, we got one code that we shot it to you. So you got to try out this game, Chernobylite. It looks pretty cool, man. It looks like it looks like it has, some decent graphics. It looks like a kind of a good game. The review does go up on the website tomorrow morning. So if you guys we're going to do like kind of final impressions before the review goes up tomorrow morning. And I want to talk to you about it, man. Did you get to play through most of the game or?
I'm probably a good 3/4 to 80, like maybe 85% done with it. Something around that range.
But you got a good like gist of it, right? You got a good sense of what the
Yeah.
gameplay is and all that.
Yeah, I took my time with it, so
Yeah.
I'm clocked in probably 13 hours right now. So it's a good chunk.
And do you go through games like see how I do it, and if you guys have listened to other podcasts that I do, I'm a critical path guy. I'm just give me the critical path here. How have you been feeling about this game? Is it a kind of a critical path game for you, or you kind of will dip around
Yeah,
however
you,
you
you
can?
can you can choose the primary mission to go throughout the because Igor, the character you play, Igor, he's the only one that can complete the critical path stuff.
Okay.
But there are side missions that you can do, like if you want to do like a food run or like a resources run, you could do that. Or you could send in your like teammates that you build up throughout the entire game.
So you don't just play as the main protagonist. You can actually pick the other characters as well.
No, you do play only as Igor, but
Okay.
when you recruit these other guys, other teammates, you send them into those like exclusion zones or like a radiation zone because some of them are better equipped or like they're more trained to go into those zones.
Yeah.
So you just send them. It's kind of you just assign them that task, and then the likelihood of them succeeding is based on what their tactics are.
Now, this is going to
And
be a very inelegant comparison, but I remember doing this kind of like, let me send out characters to do my bidding for me in the Super Smash Brothers campaign mode, where you would send them to do little different things. I don't know if you ever played the campaign in that game.
no, I didn't play that one.
Nobody does it, but I did it. And you have like different slots where you can send them to do different things, and then they come back and like they were successful or they weren't or whatever. Is that a similar thing or no? That's
Sounds very
completely unpaid.
similar. Yeah, no,
Okay.
that sounds very, very similar. Can you upgrade your the Smash like characters at the same time
I
too as
think
well?
so. I think they like level up or something. They can do better for you or something like that.
Yeah.
What is this a game you were kind of like looking forward to? I know when I kind of said I was like, oh, we might be able to get a code for this. You seemed like you were interested in it, but have you followed this game? Have you been following its
No,
development or?
I didn't
Okay.
hear about any of it until you introduced it to me, asking if I wanted to do a review for it. And I was actually hesitant on choosing this one because I was kind of scared of it because I'm like a real like
Yeah.
wimp when it comes to like these horror type games. But this one is not too bad. It's kind of like a Resident Evil kind of
Okay.
horror game.
So more like suspense, not necessarily jump scares and all
Yeah,
this,
more
but a little more
thriller,
suspense. Okay.
suspense. Yeah,
Okay.
but there are supernatural elements inside of the game too, and they're meant to be scary. And there's like a stalker kind of like Resident Evil 3 Nemesis guy running around in the whole
Now
Chernobyl.
we're looking at it. If you guys are watching the YouTube version of this chat here, it looks like the graphics is pretty good. I mean, it doesn't necessarily look mind blowing, and I think it's running at 720 or something, right? Too that might have something to do with it.
Yeah,
But
video game.
it looks pretty good. I mean, but you won't mistake it for like a Red Dead Redemption or nothing like that, right? Or
Definitely
something
not.
like
No,
high quality.
no.
But does that detract from it, or do you feel like the gameplay is strong enough to be like, you know what? I understand the graphics aren't super amazing, but the gameplay is
No,
good enough for it.
the gameplay is definitely compelling enough for you to keep wanting to play the game. Like the gameplay loops in it are very, very well done. And the graphics are good enough to be convincing. And because you like it's a desolate place and post-apocalyptic, but they've done such a good job at like 3D rendering these actual places inside of Chernobyl, like the town of Pripyat, and like the Pripyat amusement park is in there.
That's
So
the big Ferris wheel, right? I learned that from
yeah,
your review. Quick little spoiler on the review. I was like, you dropped the Ferris wheel on there, the big one. It's
Yeah,
funny how iconic that has to be, right? Where I'm like, I was reading the review and I was thinking like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. I've never been to this place. I don't really see it that often, but I know the Ferris wheel that he's talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I've been impressed with like how that looks. Like this is the probably the most accurate recent modern rendition of the whole Chernobyl exclusion zone compared to like Stalker. I haven't played Stalker in a while, but Stalker was pretty good at it. But
Yeah.
the difference between Chernobylite and Stalker is that everything used here was like with drone footage and like 3D scanning technology instead of like photogrammetry, which is like a map that they would normally use. But
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
pretty good.
assume I know all those terms, but it makes it cooler, right?
It is.
Or it's just different. You would say.
It's different, but
Okay,
like see,
gotcha.
like yeah, it's different, but
Okay.
it's still really good. Like this part right here is really. Did you ever watch the HBO Chernobyl special?
I did. I was actually about to ask you about that. So Chernobyl, it's one of my favorite series. And I mean, the HBO does pretty high quality stuff, but I really like Chernobyl. And look, anything that's bleak. One of my friends, we share that in common. We get on each other's nerves, or him more on my nerves than the other way around. But my friend, we like bleak stuff like this, bleak stuff like
Yeah,
Chernobyl and
yeah.
all that stuff. So we really enjoyed
Interesting.
that series. Does it have that sort of same tone as the show, like in the game, or it's
Um, I would say it's half and half. Like half of
okay?
it, like this one scene right now that you're watching, where they just went through a tunnel with a bunch of pipes running through it and
Yeah.
flooded water. That was the part in the actual Chernobyl disaster where there was three engineers that like
Mm.
in the beginning after the explosion happened, they had to try to flood this channel to reduce the radiation from spreading.
Yeah.
So that part's in the game. There's a lot of other parts that
Okay.
happen in real life that are inside the game that you have to come across when you're venturing through the wasteland.
Which I will be honest with you, when I was watching that show, a lot of that stuff went over my head. I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They do make a big point at one point in the show, and to not detract too much from our impressions here, but where they explain it, the guy, the scientist explains it, like, yeah, sure, I understand. But is this set during that time or after or pre those Chernobyl
It's
events? Or
It's right after. So it's 30
okay.
years after the initial explosion, and Igor, the main character, is trying to look for his lost fiancee Tatiana,
Mm.
and it's 30 years later because there's a big in the earlier gameplay of this video. There's like a big shield that they've been building over the top of the nuclear site
Mm.
to try to prevent radiation from further escaping.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty modern. Like this just happened. They just opened that maybe 3 4 years ago or something like that.
All right. So you kind of having that back, you had sort of an interest, I suppose, in that kind of
Oh, after I watched
incident
that
and all that.
HBO special, man, like I went to YouTube and I was like, "Whoa, what is this? Like,
Well,
what
look,
even?
if you dig deep, man, you
What?"
start going into like, wait, this happened in Japan too. What happened in Japan? What happened
Yeah,
at
yeah,
Fukushima?
yeah,
What like you start digging into all these kind of different things, which is funny because I know it's like counter to what people think, but nuclear is like the safest form of energy, except
yeah.
we have
Yeah,
these. It's like a thin line, right? Where it's like it's probably the safest, or is it the cleanest, maybe, or something? But it can destroy the world at the
yeah.
same time, you know. So yeah, man. I mean, the game looks pretty cool. I'm glad. So as far as we won't give away the final score, or nothing like that, but you enjoyed your time with it.
Yeah, I actually was really surprised how much I actually was really getting involved into it. Because like I said, I don't like survivor games where you have to like hunt for resources and like manage resources and then like craft things
Mm,
so you can use out in the field.
yeah,
But this game does like they kind of disguise it in a way where like you're building up your base or you're building up your character and you're building up your teammates. So it's kind of like those little RPG elements that gets wrapped up into like the resource management that I enjoy. And since it's on like this daily cycle, it's kind of like okay, I want to complete this mission in a day, so that means I
yeah.
have enough time to do this. It's kind of like if you ever go camping, like that's what it felt like to me. It's like okay, I need to manage like
So it's got
this
some
amount
good
of
systems,
time.
some good mechanics.
Yeah.
How's the shooting in it? Is it
Shooting's
pretty
okay.
good? Okay.
It's not its primary thing. Definitely like Stalker or Metro are much better like post-apocalyptic shooters because they're
Mm,
shooter first mentality. This one's more survivor based. Like you have to survive. So you could shoot people, yeah, but it's probably not the best if there's like a bunch of them around there. So you could do stealth, which is an awesome option to have, because you could lay traps and like you could distract them, kind of like Metal Gear Solid kind of
yeah.
style. Um, so that's a very good option to have. But like things happen in the
Is
world.
there so it's set sort of post a real event that happened in Chernobyl, but is there like supernatural type stuff also happening, or
Oh yeah,
it's
all the
pretty
time.
okay,
Yeah,
got you. Okay,
yeah.
so it's not completely set 100% in reality, I suppose.
No. So like
Okay.
this part right here, like they're inside of the reactor, and so Chernobylite is actually the element that resulted in the explosion.
Okay.
So Igor takes that element of Chernobylite, he puts it onto his portal gun. It's literally that gun right there is
Hmm.
literally what they call it. And then once he starts using it more and more, like crazier events and supernatural things start to happen. Like wormholes start to open up, weird entities and ghostly images of the world start to
All right.
come into
That
reality
sounds
and
pretty
lead to
cool.
it.
A
It's
little Half-Life ish. Or I don't
that's
know
yeah,
if Half-Life 1 and 2 did it as much, but I know Alex did a lot of portaling in that
yeah.
way where you're kind
That's
of
exactly how
on
I would
different
describe
worlds.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the game looks looks pretty cool. The review goes up tomorrow. It's gonna have a final score on it. We just want to give you guys some kind of final impressions on it. Deo, anything else, man? Any final parting words
Oh,
before we get okay?
it's only $30. It blows my mind that it's only $30.
It
It
looks
took
pretty
me
cool, man. It looks pretty cool for
yeah.
$30 especially. All right, well, this has been reasonably hyped. I hope you guys enjoyed the final impressions of Chernobylite. Our review should be up tomorrow morning. Make sure to check that out before the embargo, or when the embargo goes lifts. That's when our review will be up, or Dale's review actually will be up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and check out the review tomorrow. All right, see ya. Thanks for joining me, Dale.
Thanks, man.